Zira's antenna twitched as she observed the peculiar round object on the laboratory table. The diplomatic exchange program between Earth and Nexus 9 had been established for merely 6 months, and already the cultural artifacts were piling up in the Xenobiology Research Center. "This is called a cookie," Professor Malik explained, adjusting his glasses. "A common Earth confection. Completely harmless to humans, but we haven't yet tested its compatibility with Nexian physiology." Zira's opalescent eyes blinked in their characteristic sideways motion. Her slender blue fingers hovered above the brown disk, speckled with darker chunks. As the youngest xenobiologist on the team, she had been eager to volunteer for the cultural immersion project. "The chemical composition seems simple enough," she noted, her translator device converting her melodic tonal language into crisp English. "Carbohydrates, lipids, trace proteins. Nothing our preliminary scans indicate would be toxic to our systems." Professor Malik nodded, but maintained a cautious expression. "Nevertheless, we should proceed with the standard protocol. Small sample, controlled environment." But curiosity had always been Zira's defining trait, the reason she'd been selected for this prestigious assignment, despite her relative inexperience. Before the professor could retrieve the sampling tools, Zira picked up the cookie and took a deliberate bite. The flavor hit her sensory receptors immediately. Sweet, but with complexity she hadn't anticipated. The chocolate chips, as humans called them, melted against her thermal touch, releasing compounds that danced across her taste buds in ways no Nexian food ever had. "Fascinating," she murmured, taking another bite. "The texture combination is quite—" She didn't finish her sentence. A strange warmth began spreading from her central processing organ, what humans might approximately call a stomach, throughout her slender form. Her normally pale blue skin flushed a deeper sapphire along her neck and cheeks. "Zira?" Professor Malik stepped forward, concern evident in his voice. "Are you experiencing a reaction?" Zira's antennae stood fully erect now, quivering with unusual intensity. "Yes, but not unpleasant," she managed to say as her breathing accelerated. "Something in the composition is triggering a response in my sensory network." The professor quickly activated the medical scanner. "Your dopamine equivalents are spiking dramatically. Heart rates, all 3 of them, elevated. Temperature rising." Zira barely heard him. The cookie's ingredients were creating a cascade effect through her alien biochemistry. What was a simple sugar rush for humans was, for her species, triggering a comprehensive sensory awakening. Colors became more vivid, sounds sharper, and the embassy's recycled air suddenly carried thousands of distinct molecular signatures she could individually identify. "The theobromine," the professor realized, studying the readings. "Combined with your triple helix nervous system, it's acting as a powerful neural stimulant." Zira set down the half-eaten cookie with trembling fingers. "Everything is so intense," she whispered, her translator struggling to convey the sensations overtaking her. "I can perceive things I never could before. It's overwhelming but extraordinary." The cookie had triggered what Nexians called K-Vashawa, a state traditionally reached only through deep meditation by their planet's most disciplined spiritual leaders. A heightened consciousness where the boundaries between self and universe temporarily dissolved. "We should get you to medical," Professor Malik suggested, but Zira shook her head. "Not yet. I want to understand this." She closed her eyes, focusing on the rush of new perceptions. "I can sense the electrical patterns of the lab equipment, feel the molecular vibrations in the air. I can even perceive the emotional resonance lingering in objects touched by humans." Over the next hour, Zira experienced humanity in ways no diplomat or scientist from her world ever had. The cookie's unexpected effect had bypassed years of careful cultural exchange, giving her an intuitive understanding of the species that had created such a seemingly simple pleasure. As the effects gradually subsided, Zira opened her eyes to find Professor Malik monitoring her condition with both scientific curiosity and concern. "You've given us quite the research opportunity," he said with a relieved smile. "Though perhaps next time we'll stick to protocol." Zira's antennae relaxed as her systems returned to baseline. "This explains so much about human behavior," she said thoughtfully. "Your species seeks intensity in everything: your foods, your arts, your relationships. You create experiences specifically designed to overwhelm your senses." The professor nodded. "We do tend to pursue stimulation, though most cookies don't quite have the effect on us that this one had on you." "The diplomatic implications are significant," Zira continued, her scientific mind already analyzing the experience. "We've been approaching cultural exchange all wrong, attempting to understand humans through purely cognitive frameworks, when your species experiences reality through such profoundly sensory dimensions." In the following weeks, Zira's experience led to a breakthrough in interspecies relations. Rather than the sterile, information-focused approach that had characterized early diplomatic efforts, a new protocol emphasizing shared sensory experiences was established. Art exchanges, culinary diplomacy, and musical collaboration became the foundation of Earth-Nexian relations. The incident became known among diplomatic circles as the Cookie Revelation, and though Zira would go on to become her world's foremost expert on human culture, she never again experienced such an intense glimpse into human perception as she had that day. Yet occasionally, during important negotiations or cultural events, she would accept a cookie offered by her human counterparts, eating just a small piece, enough to feel that familiar warmth beginning to spread, that heightened awareness starting to bloom. Enough to remind her that understanding across the stars sometimes required more than words and logic. Sometimes it required allowing yourself to be transformed, however briefly, by another world's simple pleasures. As for humans, they remained blissfully unaware that their humble chocolate chip cookie had single-handedly advanced interstellar relations more than 1,000 diplomatic meetings ever could.